Have you ever spoken with perfect reason, only to feel your words land, not with power, but with a quiet, hollow thud? I used to think authority was something you grabbed with your voice, that you had to project every syllable, defend every position like a fortress under siege. But then, in a moment of frustration, I saw the truth. I pushed my volume and the room fell silent, but it was the silence of waiting, not of listening. In that void I learned a profound lesson. True command doesn't rise from your lungs, it emerges from your poise, from a clarity so sharp it cuts through noise without effort. You don't need to amplify your voice to be heard, you need to amplify your intent. And when you master that shift, every interaction transforms, from the boardroom to the living room. Today, I'll share 5 statements that, when delivered with calm conviction, make people truly pause and listen. These are expressions of grounded strength, the kind that can steady a wobbly table with a single firm touch. Stick around, because the third one fundamentally rewired how I approach tension. The Stoics, like Epictetus, taught that our power lies not in events, but in our judgments of them. Mastery over one's own reactions is the ultimate sovereignty. When you govern your speech, you govern the entire dynamic. I've failed at this more times than I can count. I've let heat dictate my words and spent nights replaying conversations I wished I could redraw. But a pattern emerged, emotion eroded my position, reason fortified it. Bridge between the two. A single, deliberate breath, a pause. Within that pause lives an ancient, potent wisdom. Let's begin with the first. Statement 1, I hear what you're saying, and I see it differently. The first time I wielded this phrase, I was across from a classic conversational bulldozer. My old script was to push back, to wrestle. That day I chose a new path. I listened, let their words settle, and then offered, I hear what you're saying, and I see it differently. The dynamic didn't just change, it inverted. I hadn't won an argument. I had demonstrated an unassailable calm. This phrase communicates, your perspective is registered. My own, however, remains unmoved by force. This is Stoic discernment in action, separating the external noise from your internal truth. You acknowledge without conceding. You stand firm without needing to shove. It's disarming in its grace, yet formidable in its stability. Statement 2, that doesn't align with my values. This one was born from regret. I once witnessed a cutting remark aimed at another, and said nothing. My silence, I later understood, felt like tacit approval. The shame wasn't for their words, but for my omission. I vowed then to defend dignity, mine and others, with unwavering composure. So when a similar edge appeared in a joke later on, I simply said, that doesn't align with my values. No sermon, just a clear, quiet boundary. The effect was immediate. The energy shifted. As Seneca implied, self-respect is the currency that buys the respect of others. This statement draws a line in the sand, not with anger, but with absolute certainty. It signals that your inner compass is non-negotiable, prompting others to automatically recalibrate their behavior around you. Statement 3, I'm ready to continue when respect is mutual. This statement altered my relational landscape. During a heated personal dispute, I felt the familiar surge, the pulse in the temples, the sharp words cueing on my tongue. I knew the next sentence would be one I'd mourn, so I stopped. I breathed and said, I'm ready to continue when respect is mutual. Then I physically stepped back. My ego screamed for a final shot, but my wisdom knew this was true strength. Epictetus reminded us we control our exit, if not the circus. This isn't retreat, it's strategic recalibration. You transfer the burden of escalation back to them, making respect the prerequisite for dialogue. The first time I used it, the other person was stunned into silence. Later they returned quieter and ready to engage properly. You don't demand deference, you model the terms of engagement. Statement 4. This exchange no longer feels constructive. Some debates are bottomless pits. I learned this after years of pouring logic into cups with no bottoms. I'd reiterate, rephrase, and grow exhausted. Then I understood, not every dialogue merits your precious energy. In one such circular debate, I finally said, this exchange no longer feels constructive, and I concluded my participation. The tranquility that followed was profound. Marcus Aurelius wrote of refusing to become like the source of injury. This phrase enacts that. You aren't dismissing the person, you are discerning the value of the interaction. It protects your inner sanctum and broadcasts that your attention is a valued asset, not a public utility. Statement 5. I respect your right to that view. Mine is simply another path. This final phrase is the art of graceful divergence. I spent too long bending my own beliefs to avoid waves, mistaking accommodation for kindness. It only made me a ghost in my own life. During a discussion on a core principle, I felt the old pull to nod along. Instead, I said, I respect your right to that view. Mine is simply another path. The response wasn't offense, it was a slow nod of recognition. People can feel when your piece is anchored in confidence, not compliance. This is the freedom of a reasoned mind to hold your ground without holding a grudge. You validate their humanity while affirming your own integrity. That balance doesn't just earn respect, it commands it. So, we have our 5, I hear what you're saying and I see it differently. That doesn't align with my values. I'm ready to continue when respect is mutual. This exchange no longer feels constructive. I respect your right to that view. Mine is simply another path. Each is more than words. They are exercises in self-mastery. They change how you are perceived because they first change how you operate. In an era that glorifies the loudest voice, choosing calibrated calm is a quiet revolution. Respect is not captured by force, it is cultivated by character. You don't need to be a storm to prove your strength. You need to be the ground solid, settled, and clear. If you want to go deeper, to build this unshakable foundation in your thoughts, speech, and actions, then the Mindshift Philosophy channel is your guide. Help us spread this mindset. If this resonated, please like this video. It truly supports our mission here at Mindshift Philosophy. And tell me below which of these 5 statements feels most essential for you to practice first. I read every single comment.